some demolition that happened a few weeks ago. It happened at 1 a.m., I'm told. Just splash the pictures there. And there's rapid building that's happening now. It's at Accra Central. Those who know Opera Square is close to the Opera Square, right? The lorry park there around the Melcombe Enclave. 1 a.m. was when that demolition happened. Heavily built men. 1 a.m. They came to break down everything. And if you go there right now as I speak, you'll find the construction going on giddy, 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 giddy. I'll give you the details, not today. I'll share the details with you. But just so you know, and just so they also know, we have our eyes on the ground. 1 a.m., some time ago, not so long ago, the demolitions happened. Accra Central, not so long ago, 1 a.m. And then now the construction is going on. Giddy, 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 giddy. Who is behind it and what are they building and why are they building at this time and whose property is that? Is that state land? We don't know. We will tell you. We will tell you. In good time, we will tell you. Now, just to mention that yesterday, I told you how students were sitting for their WASI visual arts practicals, and they had not received a penny from government regarding that exercise. A very important exercise in their lives, which will determine whether they make it to the next step in the academic future or the next rung of the academic ladder. Whether they go to the university or the polytechnic or whichever it is. And they have not been given their monies. I'm sure if you ask the home economics students as well, they will tell you that monies have not come. But again, I reiterate that if the teachers and the headmasters take a bold decision to have an initiative to charge them for them to be able to accomplish that simple task, they will be dealt with. If they took initiative, they will be dealt with. But that's the country we find ourselves. Nyachum is all over the place. Hypocrisy, osato, as they call it in Ghana, is what we are well versed in. Yesterday, the finance minister, after a very, very long time, since some of us have been calling for an apology from government, because you see, that apology was not what we had envisaged. The apology, the call for an apology, didn't start from us. The call for the apology started from when Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was a candidate, his third attempt at becoming president. Some say his fourth attempt because the first time he went head-to-head with President Kufuor, he didn't get the slot. The second time he went head-to-head with Alan Tremantin, he didn't win, but the party gave him the leave and license to go on and go and contest. And the promise was made to Alan Tremantin that, oh, when I finish, he said it in his victory speech that, oh, Alan, after me, you will go. Today, the story is totally different. And that's why Alan Tremantin, one of the reasons he left, because he had been giving a very raw deal. That call for apology came from Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. In the dying days of the 2016 campaign, when he was meeting the ordinary people of the country. He referenced that dollar to CD was about under 5 cedis, and it was bad. He mentioned that the ball of Kenke was so expensive and that it was bad. It was 1 CD at a time. He mentioned so many other things and said if he was the one in power, he would have said sorry to the people of Ghana and would have gone away to go and think about himself. But no. The people there, at the time John Mahama was president, there's money under the table, the spoils of power, and that they want to enjoy. Flip the coin now. He's been in power almost 8 years. Is there money under the table? Those metrics, the marking scheme that he set, what has become of them? And when will Nana Addo himself say sorry? Because he set the marking scheme and he has failed per his own marking scheme. Will he say sorry? Will he have the humility to say sorry to the people of Ghana? Listen to the finance minister. Listen to him.
Johnny's domestic debt exchange program was a very successful program, achieving 95% participation. And on this note, I would like to appeal to the people of Ghana to forgive us. To forgive us It is never the intention of any government to impose hardships on its people. It was a necessary, very important decision at the time that if we avoided it, our economy will not recover such as it has recovered today. But also to thank you, the people of Ghana, to thank you on behalf of the President for the sacrifices, for the efforts that you all have made in participating in the domestic debt exchange program that saved our economy. And so I thank you very much for that support you gave to the government.
That's our Minister for Finance. Until this role was given to him, and Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta was made the man in charge of all things external, which is finance as well. He was a Minister of State at the presidency, at the Finance Ministry, operating from the presidency. So he was part of the people who had ballooned the numbers that we had with the German diplomats and other diplomats asked us to cut down the size of government. He is still part of the government. He has not had cause to ask his government to cut down the size of government. Ballooned size of government. All of those people will take ex gratia. All of them. And you will pay for it. The minister is apologizing, but it's belated. Because how many months to election? The motive behind the apology itself. Why? Did Ghanaians start suffering today? Ghanaians have been complaining, and what the government has not told you is that when they mentioned that, before COVID-19, we were doing very fine, we were on an extended IMF program. The government won't tell you that. The same IMF program that they poo-pooed in the past. We were on an extended IMF program. When the IMF left, that's where we realized that we were in so much nya. We had to run back quickly to them. Mr. Ofori-Atta failed to make that call. It was President Akufo-Addo who made that call. Will he apologize? I don't know. But look at the minister's posture in apologizing. He spoke for about 5 minutes on that particular subject matter. The apology was less than 30 minutes. Go back and play the tape. 30 seconds. Go back and play the tape. If you are apologizing for what people's businesses that have collapsed, you're apologizing for even moving a former Chief Justice to be on the streets with placards, to the extent that his nephew will come and call her names, and then she will reply and say the nephew has pin brain, right? Old men and old women, some who say, look, my BP medication, my diabetes medication, all the medications I need, I put my money into the bond because I knew that going to invest with government is the surest way to have my money secured. All those people. This is not the kind of apology you give to your senior citizens. You mistreat them, you maltreat them, you break the rules. Now, what occasioned the domestic debt exchange program? It's because we went to the IMF. What were we told about going to the IMF? Ken Ofori-Atta is here. Play his video for me. Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta's video. Play that for me.
But I can tell you, as my colleague, Deputy Minister said, we are not going to the IMF. Whatever we do, we are not. The consequences are there. We are a proud nation. We have the resources. We have the capacity. Don't let anybody tell you. Like when Joshua, Caleb, and the 10 others went to spy on the promised land. And only 2 of them came to say that we can do it. And the 10 went around the community murmuring, you can't, We are not people of short sight, you know. And we have to move on.
So you see, we were called names.
Johnny's Vice.
Joshua, Caleb, professional Jeremias, right? We have been called names in this country. Sambalat and Tobias. We have been called names. People of short sight. If we go to IMF, we are people of short sight. We are naysayers. This is not the kind of apology you issue for this kind of disrespectful behavior that was slapped in our faces. For people that we pay to work. For people who benefit from every kind of advice to borrow that they give us. This is not the kind of apology. My own good brother, may he rest in peace, John Kuma, he was in Parliament. Listen to him.
Johnny's Vice.
Mr. Speaker, the levy is also going to help with the fiscal consolidation effort and reduce the debt levels of our country. And that also means that we are going to see an improved economic ratings and not returning to the International Monetary Fund, which is the only solution our friends on the other side have always preferred. Why don't you go to the IMF? Go to the IMF. We have shown that we have alternatives to building the economy of this country without resorting to conditionalities that will be imposed on this country. We will not go to the IMF today. We will not go to IMF tomorrow. And we are not going as long as the NPP remains in power.
That was fake news. May John rest in peace. But that was fake news. We are not going to the IMF today. We will not go tomorrow. As far as we stay in power, we will not go. We are the IMF. To the point where he even had to beg and beg and beg until the first tranche came in. Same thing we did with the second tranche. We begged and begged and begged. What has been the impact? Who has apologized for this? And he was not the only one who said this. Otribefi said same. Kojo Nkrumah said same. Dennis Miracles Abaji. All the people who communicate for government, they said the same thing. And they said if they impose e-levy on us, we will not go to the IMF. Today, we are still at the IMF and we are paying e-levy. We are the only country in the world who is paying for what they call a COVID levy. And yesterday, I heard the finance minister say that, oh, if we don't want to consider COVID, Russia, and Ukraine, then we will not be fair. It was Dr. Baumia who said that marking scheme. That how can global situation, economic situation, jump Togo, jump Benin, Nigeria, everything, come just to Ghana. That's what we are doing. You set the marking scheme, your boss, under who you work. You set the marking scheme. I've shown you Ronaldo's marking scheme. He failed his own marking scheme. Your boss, Dr. Baumia, he set up his own marking scheme. He has also failed. Who is apologizing for what? We are still taking e-levy from the people. We said e-levy was the panacea. That if we get e-levy and we impose it on the people, even at that obnoxious, tariff rate that we said we're going to, people say, well, please bring it down. He said, Professor Quarter, I remember, he said, drop it so people can pay. He said, no, we'll impose it. We know everything. Yet we know nothing. We are the IMF because of economic mismanagement. Finished. So far, the government has blamed COVID. It has blamed Russia, it has blamed Ukraine, it has blamed the opposition, it has blamed civil society, it has blamed everybody else, but government has not accepted its own portion of the blame. Listen to fake news, listen.
Johnny's Bite.
I also want to assure all Ghanaians that no individual or institutional investor, including pension funds, in government treasury bills or instruments, will lose their money as a result of our ongoing IMF negotiations. There will be no haircuts. So I urge all of you to ignore the false rumors.
Fake news, misinformation from the highest levels.
Johnny's Bite.
People were promised that they will not get a haircut. That's why the former Chief Justice went onto the streets. She went onto the streets because she had been assured, Dr. Edouard Nani and the rest, they had all been assured that it will not happen. People who are above 70, 80, some 90, 65, people who have served their country, they didn't involve themselves in 419, in Sakawa, in land grabbing, in state capture. They had not been mentioned in the Japadia document. And the confusion now is that, Chairman to me says the Japadia was written by Professor Nana Jenopokwajiman. How does an opposition write a template for you? A mafia tactic plan for you, and you in power start implementing it. SNIT is a typical example. How somebody was going to be pushed out and somebody was going to be brought in. At least if there's nothing at all, what happened at SNIT, it played out right before our very eyes. How does an opposition write that for you and you follow it jonjo like that? How? So that apology that came, the people who set the marking scheme themselves have to come and apologize to Ghanaians. I like the finance minister because he sounds conciliatory, he sounds open-minded, he sounds like a person who says, I don't know it all, I'm ready to take on ideas. Way better than the one we had before, who knew everything and didn't listen to anybody and even called us names on top. You heard the president, he said, the things that we are hearing about domestic debt exchange and haircuts are false rumors. So we should dismiss it. We should not listen to it. Since the false rumors happened before our very eyes and in flesh and blood, has he had the dignity and decency to come and apologize? I'm talking about dignity, integrity, and decency to apologize to us. Because everybody, when the president speaks, it carries weight. If it turns out that what the president said was not truthful, what does he do? Because the children are learning. Even in the press, when we say what is not true, we retract and apologize. We give people an opportunity for a rejoinder. Some refuse it. They say, I'm going to court. Say, okay. Some would go to the NMC. Some would decide that, forget about the NMC, I'm going to court. Okay. But journalists have been punished for the very thing. I say, if you play the president's video and look at what's happening, journalists have been punished in this country, picked up in Rambo style because of this same thing. Take me to Kolebu, my brother. Mr. Denchi is at Kolebu. In fact, I didn't mention that Mr. Denchi is Chief Mortuary man. But Mr. Denchi, Chief Mortuary man, has refused to go home. And there's a reason. Please put the letters up. Let's read them quickly. That's the last one we're doing, and then we'll go. Kolebu has a rejoinder, so we'll read it. Not this one. There's one before this one. We'll get to this one. Kolebu has a rejoinder. We'll read that. My good friend Mustafa Salifu authored that. We'll read it, and then we'll ask the questions again because the rejoinder did not answer the question that we have. This is to Mr. Richard Denchi, George Denchi, sorry. It's dated 11th of January, 2024. This is what I read. Official document from Kolebu Teaching Hospital. It says, this is to inform you that the hospital's management has offered you a post-retirement contract appointment for a period of 6 months as principal biomedical scientist in Kolebu Teaching Hospital. This is coming 2 years after the government says we will not give any post-retirement contract. Esia Techi is still at immigration. His contract has expired. The 2 years contract has expired. He's still there at Kolebu. And you know what? All these retirees and people who are doing very bad things in state institutions, one thing runs through them. They all tell their staff that, oh, this thing that Johnnie Hughes is talking about, nothing will happen because they know they have a boss who will just stay at the top and do nothing. And will rather pat them on the back. 2, the contract appointment takes retrospective effect from 4 December 2023 to 31st of May 2024. The salary scale attached to the post SSPH says 4,662.54, and you will enter the scale at the maximum step 5, 4,987.75 per month with the corresponding market premium. Your terms and conditions of service will be subject to the Ghana Health Service Teaching Hospitals Act 525, the Kolebu Conditions of Service, You will report to the Director of Medical Affairs for further posting instructions. Please be reminded that as essential service provider, it's illegal to embark on any strike action as stipulated in 163 of New Labour Law 2003. Find attached a general copy of your job description, blah, 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 blah. Kindly confirm your acceptance within 2 weeks. And then the 9 is of importance to me. Pause. 3FM. Please note that this post-retirement contract appointment shall not be renewed after the stated period. You are therefore expected to train an officer to take over from you after you are finally exit from the hospital. Please note that this post-retirement contract appointment shall not be renewed after the stated period. You are therefore expected to train an officer to take over from you after you finally exit from the hospital. Congratulations. Dr. Opokuwari Ampoma is the chief executive who is also the head of the plastic surgery department. Conflict of interest, I've told you about it. It's been more than a year. The man asked for an interview. He asked us to pause. He has never showed face. Take me to the other Kolebu letter. And please keep point 9 in your head. Paragraph 9. Now, this is from Kolebu, dated the 6th of August 2024. It says, Kolebu retains a retired staff as its mortuary manager, a rejoinder. In fact, I didn't mention mortuary manager, but they have told us he's a chief mortuary man. The attention of the hospital management has been drawn to a report by Mr. Johnnie Beresford Hughes on a segment on TV3's morning show, Johnnie's Bite. It's also on 3FM. On Monday, 29th of July 2024, where the hospital was accused of unjustifiably retaining a retired staff member as a mortuary manager. Specifically, the accusation centers on Mr. Denchi, who has been serving as the mortuary manager despite attaining the statutory retirement age. So confirmed, number 2. Number 3, we wish to clarify that the position of mortuary manager was officially advertised and interviews were conducted in 2023 in anticipation of Mr. Denchi's retirement. They selected a highly qualified candidate for the role through a legitimate recruitment process. However, the individual is a staff of a sister healthcare agency and required additional time for transition. As a result, there has been an unexpected delay in the release, which may have had as extension of Mr. Denchi's contract. It is important to emphasize that Mr. Denchi's contract extension is a measure to ensure that the transition to a new manager is handled smoothly without disruptions, and the successor is fully prepared to oversee the complex and sensitive operations at the Korle Bu Mortuary. We are committed to maintaining the highest standards of service and professionalism, and we anticipate that all necessary arrangements will be completed before the end of Mr. Denchi's extended contract. This will ensure a seamless transition and the continued excellence in our mortuary services. Thank you for your understanding and continued support. Yours faithfully, Mustafa Salipu, head of PR, Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Now, guess what? The question that remains unanswered is, did Mr. Denchi, while he was on this extended contract, and let's go back to Mr. Denchi's letter, that extended contract ended in May. So June, July, right? We are in August now. Within the period that he was given that contract extension, let's go back to the first letter. He was given that contract extension. Point 9, which I read to you and asked you to keep in your head, says that he is supposed to train somebody because the contract will not be extended. So he's supposed to train somebody. I have good information that Korle Bu is planning to write another letter to extend. But he is supposed, Mr. Denchi, the letter says, please note that this post-retirement contract appointment shall not be renewed after the stated period, and you are therefore expected to train an officer to take over from you after you finally exit from the hospital. Did he train anybody? And I thought that if he had trained his deputies, one of them will be so suitably qualified to be in acting position. Why do we have to import somebody from another hospital? The people at Korle Bu, they are so incompetent that suddenly we cannot have somebody in the department who's deputizing for Mr. Denchi, who one of the conditions, the key prerequisite for this contract extension was that he is supposed to have trained somebody to take over from him when he is no more there. So Korle Bu, answer that question. We are open to rejoinders. Write again. Come again and tell us whether during the period Mr. Denchi trained somebody or he did not train anybody. This whole business of giving people who have gone past retirement contract extensions while young people sit at home. 1.9 million young people are sitting at home. And we don't see the danger in it. Ours is to give post-retirement contract and justify it. Even when we have given conditions that we will not extend it because after we have given you this contract, you are supposed to train somebody. Ultimate question, did he train anybody? Give me the blue header from Korle Bu. There's a blue header from Korle Bu where about 6 unions are asking that the chief executive officer himself goes. This is the 26th of July, 2024. The Minister of Health is to Dr. Bernard Okoboy, Ministry of Health, P.O. Box M44, North Ridge, Accra. Dear sir, petition against extending the tenure of the Chief Executive of Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. We, the undersigned, respectfully petition against extending the tenure of the current Chief Executive of Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Our decision is based on the following compelling reasons. 1. Inefficiencies in absence. In the Chief Executive's absence, no checks are signed and all activities come to a halt. So if he decides that he is not well or he's going on vacation, according to this, no checks will be signed. Everything comes to a standstill. 2, Shortage of basic consumables. Delays in approvals have resulted in frequent shortages of essential supplies. Do you know what that means? People could die. 3. Conflict of interest. The chief executive's interests seem to conflict with the hospital's goal by managing the plastic surgery and the whole of Korle Bu. So he sits at plastic surgery, and I'm just doing hypothesis, and they request for gloves. Then it comes to his table as chief executive, and he could possibly sign and agree and say that, oh, that is what is happening. 4. Poor management and leadership style. The current leadership has failed to inspire confidence and effective management. 5. Lack of progress in key areas of healthcare delivery. Despite expectations, there has been little improvement in critical areas of healthcare. 6. Low staff morale and high turnover. The hospital's workforce is demotivated, leading to a high turnover rate. 7. Visible fatigue. The chief executive appears exhausted, which affects his ability to lead effectively. And they say, if you extend his tenure, this will not help them. So take appropriate action. Signed, Health Service Workers Union Chairman, Ghana Federation of Allied Health Professionals, Korle Bu Chapter, Health Accounting Staff Association of Ghana, Korle Bu Senior Staff Association, Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association, Ghana Registered Nursing and Midwives Association. They have all signed to say, we don't want an extension of a contract anymore. 92.7. Will they be listened to? I don't know. Who will listen to them? Will anybody listen to them? Or will they be told to get out of here? And then later will come with a belated apology.
Johnny's
Finally,
Bite.
take me to UCC. GTEC has written, UCC has also decided to extend the contract of a retiree.
Johnny's Bite.
This is dated the 19th of July, 2024. Let the retirees go, let the young grow. Notice, and we'll get to the public universities because they are supposed to be the standard. The standard. Council decision on the appointment of a new registrar. At this 119th regular meeting held on Thursday, 18th of July 2024, the Governing Council of the University of Cape Coast discussed the report of the search committee on the appointment of a new registrar for the university. Council noted that the search committee, during its work, did not engage with the relevant stakeholders of the university. Council also identified challenges with the report and the search process. Council was therefore unable to appoint a new registrar. Instead, they decided to constitute another committee to review the process and make appropriate recommendations for consideration. Consequently, Council appointed the incumbent registrar for a period of 3 months with effect from 1st August 2024, during which the committee is expected to complete its work. The above is for the information of the university community. Jeff Tay E. Onyame is the registrar and secretary to the council. Now let's see what GTEC had to say about this particular situation. And Professor Ahmed Jenapo signed that letter that we intercepted. We will get to it in a bit. And that's our final thing we are reading. You see, when your young people in the country do not have jobs, you try and find them jobs. GTEC wrote this on the 22nd of July. Mind you, theirs was on the 26th of July. So even though they had been written to, they still went ahead and did what they wanted to do. Council, Chairman, Governing Council, University of Cape Coast. Dear sir, Council decision on the appointment of a new registrar. The Ghana Tertiary Education Commission has stumbled upon a notice emanating from Governing Council of the University of Cape Coast dated July 19, 2024, signed by the Registrar and Secretary to Council, Mr. Jeff Tay E. Onyame, appointing himself as Registrar. The Registrar... hey, Ghana. See, signed by the Registrar and Secretary to Council, Mr. Jeff Tay E. Onyame, appointing himself as Registrar effective August 1, 2024. Post this his retirement date of July 21, 2024 in lieu of Council's inability to appoint a substantive registrar. You see the rubbish that is happening. The university that is supposed to be the standard, and people write their thesis, then they ask them to come and defend. If they see this, they say, we cancel. You see the rubbish that they are doing. The commission is unable to uphold the decision due to the following reasons. 1, The 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana is unambiguous of the retirement age of public servants, 60 years, of which staff and faculty of public universities are not exempted. 2. In a ruling of the Bolgatanga High Court in a case between Professor Eric Magnus Wilmot, then Vice-Chancellor of the C.K. Tedam University of Technology and Applied Sciences, and the Registrar Dr. Vincent Lomote on one hand versus a concerned party, the court ruled for the two to vacate their positions as Vice-Chancellor and Registrar respectively because they have passed the mandatory retirement age of 60 years. 3. In a similar case between the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission and Professor Philip Osei Duku, the former Vice-Chancellor of the SD Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, the plaintiff's Professor Duku case was dismissed on similar reasoning of being 60 years and above. Again, as you are aware, the University of Cape Coast and the current Vice-Chancellor on one hand are currently in court battling a similar case bordering on stay in office post-retirement. Let's go to the next page quickly. Post-retirement. Informed by the above reasons and many others, the Commission is unable to uphold the decision of the 119th regular meeting of the University of Cape Coast Governing Council and prescribes the following. 1. The current registrar should hand over to the Vice-Chancellor on or before July 31, 2024. 2. The Vice-Chancellor, guided by the statute of the university, should take steps to appoint somebody to act in the interim starting from August 1, 2024. 3. The university, as a matter of urgency, should take steps to fill the position of registrar. Finally, Chairman, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission notes with concern the seeming drift of the Council of UCC from laws, policies, and guidelines that shape the proper governance of public universities, especially on the subject of the appointment of registrar by the university. The Commission advises that you should be guided by the Constitution of the Republic, the Enabling Act establishing the university, and its statute. GTEC will continue to provide you with the necessary support and guidance in the dispensation of their responsibilities, and do assure you that it will not renege on its overall objective of regulating tertiary education institutions in all its forms for effective and efficient administration. Counting on your usual cooperation, Professor Ahmed Jinapor Abdullahi is the Acting Director General. Copy to everybody who needs to get it, including the registrar who wrote the letter to say, if you can't find a registrar, I'm 60 years and above, but I will stay in office. Tomorrow, there's more juice on public universities.